Thank you. Oh, will I just start then, will I?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, I guess this is more for the video than for you guys because I know you all very, very well. But my name is Stephen McCormack, and I'm here today to present to you on Tuha, the grid, which has been something that I have been playing with for the past 3-4 years. It has been something that was actually born out of absolute heartbreak when my wife died 4 years ago. We went swimming here in the south of France, and it was a very, very traumatic event for her and for me and for everybody involved. But she decided that she was going to head onto realms unknown or to realms known. But she left me with an absolute hole in my heart. Like, my heart was absolutely destroyed, was torn to pieces. Before she died, we were together 24 hours a day for 22 years. And we did everything together, and every single day was just joy and happiness and love and light. And then when she left, my heart went through this process where it absolutely shattered into a million pieces. And I was then tasked with basically healing myself while saying no to all of the medication that people were trying to get me to take, you know. And I was like, no, I have to feel this. And I have to experience this, because I knew that basically her passing was something that had been preordained to actually make me do what I'm doing right now. She died in June of 2021. And this voice in my head kept saying to me, Stephen, you have to get to the Hill of Ishnach, which is this video that you're watching right now, for a very, very ancient and sacred fire ceremony that they do in Ireland every single year for the Bealtaine festival. And it's basically, this hill is the seat of the High King of Ireland, and he would symbolically marry our goddess Eru in a symbolic, you know, connection between our world and their world. And I've been to this fire ceremony like many, many times, and it's a very, very powerful shamanic event to go to that really connects you back to your roots in Ireland and into its deep and its rich history. But this voice in my head said, you have to get to the Hill of Ishnach. You just basically have to survive. And I went through absolute chaos. Like, I went into realms that I didn't even know existed. And I felt pain that I didn't even know that you could feel. But I was on my way to Barcelona airport to get to this fateful event. And it was the first time since she died where I felt a little bit of excitement. I felt this thing in my heart begin to activate. And this was before I met all of you guys, and before I met Dan, and before I met Mederick. But I kind of sensed I had this kind of energy field was beginning to activate in my heart. And I could begin to feel it to basically permeate through my being. And as I was on my way to the fire festival, I actually felt kind of happy, and I felt good, and I knew that I was on my way to a very special event. So this is a recording I took. Now, I have a lot more, but I was told by certain people in Ireland that I cannot show what I wanted to show you. But basically, this is the fire. Now, I have films where you can actually see the beings from the other side actually in the video with us, and basically dancing with us, and basically talking with us, and completely, what?
Around the outside of the fire?
Yeah. Around the outside and on top of the fire, and literally everywhere. But I went there to heal, and I went there to basically release what basically had to be released. And then at the end of it, I had this epiphany. Let's say I had this conversation. Now, whether it was a conversation with them or whether it was a conversation with myself, as above, so below, I spoke to myself, I spoke to them, I spoke to my ancestors. And it basically occurred to me that, you know, we live in a world that is full of anger, it's full of hate, it's full of war, it's full of death, it's full of destruction, it's full of really, really, really bad things. And every single time we try to fix one thing, by the time we fix that one thing, we have another 10 have popped up in real time. We have a world where people are addicted to drugs, they're addicted to pharmaceuticals, they are basically like the Walking Dead in a lot of the world. And they are completely disconnected from themselves and from each other. And I spoke to these beings and I said, guys, we have to come up with a plan to basically fix the world that we live in. And I said, you guys need to send us an army of light from your side to basically help us to switch on the light in the dark times that we find ourselves in. Because we could try to basically bang ourselves around in the dark, or we could just switch on the light. Very, very simple idea. And the voice came back to me and it said, we don't need to send you an army of light. You are all the army of light. All you have to do is switch on your light. So they basically tasked me with this idea of what if everybody in the world was to switch on their light at exactly the same time and just actually put an end to the darkness. So I came back to the south of France here, and I spent many, many years, weeks, months in caves, in sacred places, to meditate, to pray, to basically work out a way. Like if I can switch on my light and heal myself, which I was able to do in part. Now my heart is still probably a little bit broken, but and I think it will be until the end of my days in this realm. But if I can even begin to switch on my light, what about if everybody else could do it? So I basically sat down and I thought and I talked and I researched and I spoke to everybody I could about how do we get the world to switch on their light. And this is where the idea of Ontuha, the grid, was born. Now basically Ontuha, which is spelled Ontuha, O-N-T-H-O-O-H-A, is basically an old Irish word for the tribes. So basically here we're seeing the tribe of Danu making their way to the fire festival on the hill of Ishnok. So basically they come from their world, we come from our world, and we meet on the hill one time per year, and we dance and we sing and we drum and we basically communicate. What? What date? It depends. It's basically maybe from the 5th to the 14th of May. And if you guys are here next year, you should come to it. It is one of the most amazing things that you can ever attend. And there is absolutely no plant medicine, there's no alcohol, there's no nothing. Just people are basically trapped between worlds for maybe 8 or 10 hours, which is absolutely fantastic. But I had originally decided to call this new product or this new idea the Manifestation Station, a place for us all to come together to basically manifest our new world into reality. But it's not really about manifestation. It's about connecting, it's about remembering, it's about, for us to go back to our old ways, to go back to being in the tribes and to actually unite the tribes together. So that's where I came up with the idea to actually call it Ontuha, the grid. So what I'd like to do is I would like to present this idea to you guys today. When I came back to France, I had absolutely no idea how I was going to do this. It was just an idea, and I think it actually was a gift as well, because when I was in the really dark places, this was kind of the lighthouse that basically pulled me back every single time. So we go down, 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 you go, right, how do we get everybody in the world to switch on their light? And that basically gave me the best distraction that you could ask for, which then turned into something very, very beautiful. It was then I met Mederick and I met Dan Winter and I met Christine, and they started to talk to me about the mechanics of heart implosion and the actual electromagnetic field that is actually in our heart. So I went back to my time in the car where I felt this little buzz, this small little electromagnetic field, which I now know is an electromagnetic field that was actually beginning to rise inside of me. And then I speak to all of these geniuses, and I end up here with this group this time last year. And I came into the room, I had absolutely no idea what you guys do. I am not a scientist, I am an entrepreneur. I have created many technology companies. My most recent one is where I am basically Max Roberts from Incognito, where we have nearly 7 million people use our anti-spyware application. And he, i.e. me, or basically your fake name for your presentation, Dan, basically writes security tips on how to actually keep people safe. So when I actually look back at all of the things I've done throughout my life, it has all been about helping people. It's all been about keeping them safe. It's all been about how can we make your life a little bit easier. And I guess this is probably the next iteration of that, because when I was in the world of anti-spyware, it's basically like trying to keep out the sea with a fork, you know, because it's basically an impossible job. So this is a way for me to go, well, instead of trying to address the manifestation of the darkness, i.e. people trying to hack into each other, or people trying to basically starve each other, or to ram drugs down their necks, why don't we try and actually address it as a whole with Ontuha? So welcome to the global peace experiment that will utilize, thank you very much. So it is a global peace experiment that basically has been done many times in the past. This is not a new thing. This has been done 5 or 6 times in the past year. In fact, actually, there's actually 1 million kids around the world right now, all coming together to say their prayers, to basically pray for peace in the world. That's basically 1 million kids are doing it right now all over the world, which actually was begun by a Catholic priest in Ireland. And they have been doing it for the past maybe 3 or 4 years. But what we are going to do here today, and not what we are going to attempt to do, this is what we are going to do, is we are going to unite the entire planet together under one common intention of love. We are going to make it very, very simple to use. We are going to make it fun to use. We're going to make it accessible to all. It's going to broadcast in every language every single day in real time, with a simple objective, is to help people to move from their minds down into their hearts. Because when people are down in heart consciousness, they feel a lot happier themselves. And I can basically prove that for me. When I was in the depths of it, I went from here to here, and I was able to remember love, which actually can be very, very painful at times. But when your heart is actually remembering love, it starts to react to that love. And it starts to expand the energy field, which, because of all of you amazing people, I now know what that is. Because before it was just an emotion. So what if we could get 1 billion people to come together every single day around the world? It could basically change our entire experience in this world in 1 second, if we can actually make it happen. Why do we do it? Our world is in crisis. We have wars, we have divisions, we have a huge rise in mental health struggles. And when people feel sad and when they feel down, instead of actually trying to fix the root cause, you just basically give them pills and basically remove them from the world, where they're basically still here, but they are completely gone behind the scenes. We are overwhelmed with information, but yet we're starved for that simple human connection that basically brings us together. Like, I think it was Steve or Dan was saying that basically everybody has their phone now, and they live in their phone, and they just live there where they are completely detached from everybody around them. We should be using technology to connect us together, but instead it is creating the exact opposite. And as a result of that, we have lost touch with the one energy field that can unite us all, and that is the human heart. And we all know instinctively that our hearts are very, very powerful. We know that when we are in a state of love, or when we are remembering love, or when we are in a place where we feel really, really happy in our hearts swell. And the actual phrase going, my heart swells, that is actually your heart's electromagnetic field beginning to expand. It's very, very cool for me to be able to make all of these connections. And it all came down to one fateful day when I met a man called Médéric de Goy and his wife Christine, which is absolutely crazy how we all came together on this. But so in very, very simple terms, we are going to get everybody from around the world, regardless of your religion, race, creed, regardless of any of the things that are designed to separate us in our society. You know, we have a place now where, you know, if you are, in fact, I'm not going to give examples, but basically we want to synchronize their heart's energy fields together by manifesting love and peace, by coming together every single day at exactly the same time to share one simple process. And I've spent years trying to simplify this thing right down to 5 or 6 steps, to work with really amazing sound frequencies, to work with really amazing visuals, to actually help the person with really simple breathing techniques, to actually bring them down from here down to here every single day. So basically, it is a free synchronized ritual that will happen around the world. It is completely free. There are no adverts. There's no collection of information. We will not ask you for your name. We will not ask you for your bank card. We won't ask you for anything at all. This is all being funded by me. And because I have completely simplified it all the way down, it's actually something that's really easy to manage, because when it's really, really simple without the bells and whistles, you know, we actually can make this happen very, very easily. So each day, participants will be guided through, let's say, for example, a 5-step process. The first is to go into a coherent breathing state. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Perhaps maybe hold at the top, or perhaps maybe hold at the end, but a simple rhythmic breathing. And actually for me, when I do this myself, I actually visualize it going around and around, and basically like a loop. The next is to actually remember that you have a heart. Most people don't actually know what this is. They basically think that it is just a pump that basically sends your blood around. But this is an incredibly intelligent, basically, seat of your soul. And when you touch it, you actually remind yourself that you have a heart. And this is actually how people were identified over the years during all of the inquisitions, was they would basically have spies out, and they'd be basically looking for people who'd have their hand on their heart, because actually this is the seat of our soul. It's actually not out here. It's in here. And if we can remember that, and if we can connect to that, and the first step is to just remind yourself you have one, you know, so most people don't. So we basically get the person into a nice breathing state, put your hand on your heart and remind yourself you have a heart, using some really cool visuals that we're working on right now that have been designed to actually bring a person into much more of an open, heart-based awareness state of being. The next is to use the BioCoherence frequencies and to basically put in something layered below to actually help to bring the person into a much more relaxed state. Now, we know how powerful these frequencies are. We know that they can basically have a huge impact on your physical, your mental, your emotional well-being. And even if we just use a basic program, it's going to have a massive effect. But also, once BioCoherence starts to grow, and once Médéric starts to basically collect, you know, more and more information about people's hearts, he can then start to perfect that frequency, so that actually when we're playing, it becomes more and more relevant to the person who's listening. And then the next bit, which was actually probably the toughest bit, was was to use my intention to actually bring myself down into a state of love, to actually really remember what love feels like. Remember that kind of look in her eye, or remember basically how you felt when you did something, or it could be a really small thing, but just to actually remind yourself of love. And I've spoken to many, many people, and I spoke to a Catholic priest, and he said to me that basically the answer is the love for your mother. He said that, you know, most people know what it's like to love their mother. So even if they don't have any love in their life, they can probably connect back to a time when they felt that love in their heart for their mother. But actually how you get there is completely up to you, but it is a very, very important step. Now, this is just an example of what will happen when the clock counts down to 0. So every day at 1:11 p.m., our clock will count down to 0. Once it gets to 0, it will start a live broadcast. It will run for 5 to 10 minutes maximum, because we know that people of the world are not going to have an hour and a half to basically say, okay, put your feet on the ground and take a big deep breath and imagine blah, blah, blah. So it basically has to be something very fast to keep people interested. Once they do that, we then take them into the next phase. Oh, sorry, excuse me. So we basically bring the person down on an individual basis, down from their mind down into their heart. We help them to connect to their heart's electromagnetic field, which can be measured, for example, with a squid magnetometer, where you can see Steve's heartbeat, or basically Steve's heart from here. These things can be read from like 5 or 6 feet away, which basically explains that, you know, if you were to walk into a room just after somebody has had a huge fight, and even though they stop fighting, you can feel it when you walk into the room. You can feel the vibe that comes off them. And with a device like a squid magnetometer, you can actually read it. So we are not asking the person to take a big leap of faith. We can actually prove to them that your heart has an electromagnetic field that can grow when you do this, this, and this, and here's the proof. But then once we have them connected to their hearts, we then basically help them through the process of amplifying it out beyond themselves, to actually amplify it out maybe 5 or 10 feet around them, and more and more and more, depending on how much practice they do with this. And then the idea is that if we have when we have 1 billion people taking part in this every day, real time, at the exact same time, everybody puts their hand on their heart at exactly the same time. It is completely synchronized. It is on an application, it's on a web extension, and you see a globe, and when you come online, you just see a heart comes on for you, and you see the entire world basically coming on in real time as more and more people connect. So basically, we take you from here to here for you. It will make you feel fantastic at the end of it, and then we will help you to connect to the overall grid of love that will support the transformation of this planet that we find ourselves on. But then we also take you through the process of the Heart Amplification Center. And it's actually one thing to go from mind down to heart each day, but then you actually have to now walk the walk each day, and you have to do 3 things, which the actual application takes you through this process. So we basically challenge you every day within the next 24 hours to recall a feeling of love. Just to basically sit down on your own and just recall something from love, from a past love, from a future love, from something that you have loved in the past, to actually make your heart swell, like really connect in with that. Then we ask you to actually do an act of love. So actually go out there into the world and do 1 act of love every single day. And then the third thing is to actually write down what you are truly grateful for. So whether it's your arms, your legs, or the love of your life, or whatever it is that causes you to be grateful. We have a part in the app where you actually log these things and you actually pulse it out into the world. so that when you actually send out your act of love, or when you send out your memory of love, the entire world sees it. And you see that maybe there has been 400,000 acts of love in the past hour. So this is where we go from being coherence into our day-to-day lives, into what we are going to do every single day, multiplied globally. So it isn't just another app. It is something that will always be free. As I say, we will support this as a free gift to the world. We are working very, very hard to actually have it live, and we believe that once it does go live in the next few weeks, actually, it's basically live now. We're actually going for the beta launch on the 31st of October, which is going to be for the Samhain, which is basically going to be where we actually go live with the live broadcast to a select group of people, just to basically perfect it. And then we'll have our first global broadcast will happen for the winter solstice on the 21st of December. And what I ask of all of you is, we actually have it now where we know what it is. We have it now completely shaped. We know how simple it is. We know how to make it. It's made. We have it designed. We have the applications done for Android, for iPhone. We have the web extension. We are going to broadcast this over internet and traditional radio waves as well, so that it basically hits everybody in the world. It's going to be translated into every voice in the same way that Christine's amazing voice, that you can actually hear Christine speaking Korean, but it's actually Christine speaking Korean. And we are going to have the broadcast, which is actually going to be recorded by me for the English speaking, and then basically sent out around the world every single day. So what I need people to help me to spread it. I have the technology down, I have the message down, I have everything down. But what we need now is we need people, we need ambassadors to actually help to spread this. We don't have any money to pay you. We don't have any incentives to give you other than being part of the first time in human history where we can come together, where we can actually use, for maybe the first time, we can actually use technology for good instead of it being used to share stupid clips and stupid Instagram things. We can actually use it to connect each other together. So if you would like to join the team, let me know. It's free of charge though, but thank you so much. No, soon, in the next few weeks. So thank you guys, thank you for giving me the chance to do it. I appreciate it. On tour. And I also have a t-shirt made.